Today, we'll be visiting the habitat of my favorite of all cactus species, and we'll be talking about what you can do if you find one of these beauties out in habitat. From the moment I found out that there were plants that could survive with little to no rain and thrive with mostly Camanchaca fog in one of the driest places on the planet, I was incredibly curious about Copiapoa in general. But after seeing Copiapoa cinerea for the first time, I knew I had to come here. Welcome back to the coastal desert of Chile. Hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is probably the happiest day of my life. I honestly don't know how to communicate what I'm feeling with you guys right now, because ever since I started collecting cacti and succulents, this has been my all-time favorite plant. I know that I have said that a lot of other plants are my favorite, but I'm being 100% honest right now. I swear, I promise. This is my favorite plant in the world. It's Copiapoa cinerea, and I'm surrounded not only by these two gorgeous clumps, they're each about 15 to 20 heads. Who knows how old they are? And I'm surrounded by a whole bunch more. But before we get into the mountain and I get overwhelmed with joy and I stop being able to articulate thoughts, I thought it would be a good idea to stop here and make the intro for this video. We are near the city of Taltal, in an undisclosed location. I'm never gonna share where we are with anybody, because I hope this remains undisturbed forever and nobody comes and poaches these beautiful, beautiful plants. There's gotta be at least 1,000 of them on this mountain alone, and on each little mountain we visit, we seem to find a different form, and this seems to be the single spine form of Copiapoa cinerea, which means it's even more special than the already special enough Copiapoa cinerea, because this plant grows usually 3 to 5 spines per aerial, which are the little fluffy round formations where the spines and the blooms come out of. But this particular plant sheds some of those spines with age, and only 1 spine per aerial remain, which gives it this amazing sort of pinhead look. They look amazing, they look very healthy, they're a little dehydrated, and they're showing stress obviously because they are habitat plants. But some of them are blooming, and I'm just blown away that they're not only here, but that there's so many of them, and I hope that there are gonna be that many of them forever. So like always, we're gonna go around, we're gonna show you some amazing plants. There's also Eulychnia and aerial size on this mountain. So we're gonna show you as much as possible, and we'll talk about the Camanchaca fog and how it interacts with their environment and with their habitat, and just show you guys all the amazing forms of Copiapoa cinerea, because this and all Copiapoa are very variable. Even plants of the same species, even in the same locality, can exhibit totally different phenotypes and completely different physical characteristics. So we're gonna go around and show you the best, but I don't even know what's the best here anymore, because everything here is just it's just amazing. So I hope you like Copiapoa, because you're about to see some of the most beautiful ones that we can find. Let's go. All the physical characteristics that we can see on these plants, like the heavy barking at the base that looks almost like wood, missing or very few spines, and extensively white skin, are indicative of field or poached specimen. If you're ever offered one of these for sale, don't buy it, as doing so will contribute to the black market that is well known for destroying ecosystems. Copiapoa cinerea are known for having really white skin, and as you can see, these individuals have a yellow brownish tint to them. That's caused by the dust coming from the road and all the construction happening around these plants that is unfortunately very slowly but surely pushing their populations higher and higher up into the mountains. Man, this mountain is magnificent. Holy crap. I've seen at least 200 plants that I don't know which ones to photograph, which ones to film, I don't even know. So we found this lady. I guess she fell off from a big cluster, or maybe the rain made some sort of erosion that made it fall off from where it was, but you can see that the root system's already fully desiccated and it's showing a lot of stress. All this bark means the plant is experiencing extreme dehydration. So Copiapoa is able to do something called desiccation, which happens in all cacti, which is basically a drying out of the tissue, but Copiapoa can do that controlled. And it uses desiccation to sort of survive extended and extreme periods of drought. This guy, I'm pretty sure that if we can find it at home and we could just sort of dig it into some sort of little nook or crevice, it might root back up and survive. So that's what we're gonna do. We found a couple of these that are just toppled over. So we're gonna try to do as much as we can and try to find some new homes for these guys. We'll never take any of these plants home. Nobody should ever take any of these plants home because this is where they belong, really. This plant should never go into cultivation. Also because most of the time these plants don't ever make a full recovery and a full transition into cultivation, because in order to do so they need a very long time. We're talking about years, 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 years to fully transition into cultivation. And they'll look exactly like this for 5 or 6 years. So you'll think that you have a beautiful plant at home that you bought from some a-hole that ripped it from the desert, and in reality all you have is a corpse. It's dying a very slow death, and you won't even realize that this plant is dying until it's too late, because what they do is they go into dormancy and they wait for a suitable period for them to start growing again. So they'll look completely fine, and in reality they're just dying a slow death in your pots. So don't ever buy plants that were poached from habitat. It just doesn't make any sense. Not for the collectors who are supposed to love these plants, and definitely not for the plants that are being just destroyed and their ecosystems are being destroyed because people keep pulling these and selling them on the internet. So pay attention to what they look like, the barking, the very thick root systems. We're going to show you some close-up shots of this guy and every other one we can find, so that hopefully if you see Copiapoa like this on the market, you don't buy them. So we're going to keep looking around and just showing you everything we can. We have to head to another locality that's supposed to have even more amazing Copiapoa cinerea. So for sure we're going to show you that as well. So let's just keep looking. Copiapoa are different from other genres of cacti like Oreocarpus, for example, in that they don't like to bury their stems. So we're going to make sure to place this one right above the soil level and plant it right under this Eulychnia taltalensis that will capture the fog and roll it downhill to provide a little bit of moisture to hopefully help this Copiapoa cinerea re-establish itself. A plant's physical appearance is determined by its phenotype, and its phenotype is a product of the interaction between its genetic makeup and the environment in which it evolved. That means if you're a Copiapoa seedling germinating on this mountain, you're bound to look a little different from your relatives germinating on the next mountain over. So for that reason, we're going to look for a different locality to try to capture some of that variability for you. When we talk about localities, we're simply referring to specific geographical locations where plants of the same species cohabitate. More often than not, these plants will share very similar physical traits as they've evolved in the same location. But in the case of Copiapoa, there's so much genetic variability inside the genus that it's not uncommon to see plants showing that variability even within small localities like this mountain. This locality, for example, is about 600 feet higher in elevation than the dusty one that we saw at the beginning of the video. So you'll see plants with thicker stems, meaning they are way better hydrated than the ones that we saw at the base of the mountain. Because as you can imagine, the fog is a lot more dense and a lot more frequent up here, which also makes for some individuals completely covered by lichen. The higher and higher we climb into what's known as the fog zone, the more we'll start seeing other types of vegetation that is not able to survive the extreme amounts of drought that Copiapoa can withstand, and therefore they're not found at the lower parts of the mountain because they rely almost entirely on the Camanchaca fog for their survival. All cacti grow from a single point at the apex of their stems, which gives them their overall spherical or columnar shapes. But sometimes that point starts turning into a line, and that line starts giving the new growth a shape more similar to a fan, which is known as a cactus crest, and that is caused by a genetic mutation known as fasciation, which can either be caused by a stress or it can be genetically passed down from parents to seedlings. The truth of the matter is we don't know with 100% certainty what causes such crazy looking growth in 1 in 100 or maybe 1 in 1,000 plants out in the field or in cultivation. So let's just admire them because they're beautiful works of art that survive in one of the harshest environments known to man. All right, that was the end of day 1 in Taltal. We are definitely gonna stick around in this town for a little while because this zone around Taltal has about 60% of the wild flora in all of Chile, and only this zone right here has more diversity than Patagonia, which receives rainfall during 6 months of the year. So imagine just how many crazy things we're gonna see. I'm really excited. I hope you are too, and I hope you enjoyed this episode just as much as we did. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm surrounded by not the same Copiapoa cinerea we've been seeing all day. These guys are more solitary, and these guys are none other than Copiapoa columna alba, another one of my top 3 favorite plants in the world. And this is just a little sneak preview of what's coming on the next episode. We're gonna go see an even bigger population of these beautiful and incredibly slow growing plants. So I'll catch you on the next one.